You know how coffee doesn't taste quite as good when you're sick? Hey everyone, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem, and this is my weekly reading roundup for the week ending November 10th, 2024. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer now, also a booktuber. You can find my music in the Wheel of Time Season 2, His Dark Materials Season 3, and the newly released psychological horror film, Dead Whisper. So, apologies for the slightly scratchier throat today. I have just had a terrible, sore throat and just been feeling really fatigued for the last few days. I don't know what's going on. I think I caught something. But really, ever since like Wednesday or Thursday, I've been feeling a little off. And so I basically took the whole weekend off. I just stayed, I just planted myself on the couch and I read some good books. So that was the silver lining in an otherwise kind of crappy weekend for me. But how have you all been? Let me know in the comments. I always like to keep this a dialogue, so let me know in the comments kind of how your week has gone. I hope it's been a lot better than mine, and I hope you've read some good books to boot. So anyways, I'm going to do my weekly reading roundup as I always do by starting with, if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. It always helps out the channel. I got some affiliate links down in the description as well for the books in question, so you can always check those out if you so choose. And I'm going to just keep you apprised on everything about the books, and then about the channel, and then about my, kind of music projects and things that are adaptation adjacent, I guess you could say. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So first of all, as I mentioned, I had a little bit more time to read this week because I wasn't feeling too well. And that's always kind of the silver lining of getting sick. But I got a chance to start a buddy read that I had been reading with Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems. Wonderful channel. I've talked about him almost every video, so if you for some reason are new to this channel and haven't seen it, definitely check out his channel below as well. But we both love Stephen King. You could tell from my shelf back here that he's my favorite author of all time, and so we decided to kind of read Stephen King's Fairy Tale together. Now, I gotta say, this cover should win some awards because it is just one of my favorite Stephen King covers in recent memory, I think. It's just beautiful. Beautiful. And it's kind of hard to tell from just looking at it, but like just the glossiness of the cover is just really nice too. It was very beautiful to look at in person. But, it's a newer Stephen King novel. I think it came out 2021 or 2022, something like that. So it kind of goes back to his kind of love of fantasy, and it's kind of a love letter to Ray Bradbury and a lot of these other, kind of fantastical authors that he read probably, and that influenced him. So it's kind of nice to see a book like that. And, Cliff and I are going to talk about this one, a little bit more at length. I think we need to lock down a date for when we are going to chat about it during like a live stream discussion, but we'll keep you all apprised when we do that. But I'll just say my quick thoughts is like, I've been blazing through this. I started this on, I want to say Friday night, and by Sunday night, I'd read 5 out of 600 pages of this book, which for me is pretty fast. I don't read that fast, but I just was flying through it. And it's got a coming-of-age story. It's got a fantastical realm story. Really interesting and twisted in a way Stephen King can do. So really great. He's always good at making fantasy feel like some sort of a fever dream nightmare. So I just love reading anything that he does in the fantasy genre, honestly, because he's so good at it. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. And then I got the chance to continue down this giant path of Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson, book 4 of the Stormlight Archive. I'm trying to do a reread of this thing because I figured, if I give myself like 4 or 5 weeks to read it before Wind and Truth, the 5th and final installment in the first arc of the Stormlight Archive. Basically, like, Brandon Sanderson is writing 5 books. That's going to end one arc. Then the next 6 through 10 will be a second arc. But he's not going to start that years from now. So I wanted to really kind of just brush up on my Cosmere and my lore in anticipation for that December 6th release date. And I got to say, I don't know, I was tripping or something because I remembered not liking this that much when I first read it. And I actually remembered the least, even though I'd read it the most recently. And now I'm reading it again, and I guess I'm taking it at a slower pace. I'm only at 237 now. So I've been reading maybe 100 pages a week. I really got to pick it up if I want to actually complete this by the end of the month. But I've been loving taking it slow and just getting into the world and saying, all the science, all the, deep lore that like Brandon Sanderson explores in this, of the singers and kind of like these different kind of like races of people and this and that. Like he explores it so deeply. So it could be intimidating, I think, on first glance. But now that I'm giving myself a chance to breathe and just kind of enjoy it, I'm loving this book, and I love it as much as the other three. So I think, it's kind of, when you look at it from a different lens, suddenly you can appreciate things about it you didn't appreciate before. So loving this, and I'm going to pick up the pace on this week. But the third book I got a chance to read, so I read this one on my Kindle. So I'm going to leave the thumbnail up here. But this one I read from start to finish this week, and it's like a 700 something page book. But let me tell you, Philip Chase has done something very special with the Idan trilogy. This is The Prophet of Idan, and this is the second book in his trilogy, and I gotta say, I loved it. I loved it even more than the first. Now, the first is a great setup book. The characters are fantastic, and it's like when you read fantasy, there's a lot of lore, there's a lot of characters to keep a track of, but you never feel like you have a hard time keeping track of them. And I actually usually struggle with that, and I found that every character was understandable. Like you could understand not only who they were as people, but also their place in the grander scheme of things. And I just thought that that was wonderful. It was a joy to read. And I gotta say, Philip Chase's prose is some of my favorite prose in fantasy right now. He takes, common tropes that are in fantasy and kind of twists them a little bit and makes them very exciting and unique. And then his prose just really delivers the home run for it. I'm loving the series, and I just can't wait to talk to him about it. Now, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the kind of channel schedule segment. But I got to say, if you guys have not read The Way of Idan, The Prophet of Idan, and The Return to Idan, which is the third book, the book I'm going to read in December to finish off the trilogy, you got to check this out, and I'm leaving it in the description. So, wonderful reading week. Not so great for my voice, not so great for my just general feeling of malaise, but great reading week nonetheless. So let's talk a little bit about what I'm going to read this coming week. So, Rhythm of War is on the docket. Definitely going to get a few hundred pages into this. I want to get at least halfway by the end of the week. I think that will keep me on track for finishing by the end of the month. I'm going to finish Fairy Tale today because I'm blazing through it. It's only 100 pages left, and I read like 200 pages a day these last couple of days. So definitely going to read that, finish that off today. So what am I going to read for the bulk of this week? Well, I have another buddy read, which has been really fun. I love this guy, John from Disquiet and Dragons. Wonderful channel, wonderful guy. And we've had some great buddy reads together. We read a couple of the books from Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderling series. We read the last two books of the Farseer trilogy, so books 2 and 3 of the Farseer trilogy. And we'd read Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, so book 1 of the Bloodsworn saga, and we are going to continue on that journey with The Hunger of the Gods, a chonky second book. Another award for best cover, I would say, wouldn't you say? Now, I think both John and I felt a little bit lukewarm on the first book, which was a shame because, I love Faithful and the Fallen. I love Of Blood and Bone. I think, like, John, up till then, he was 7 for 7 for me. He was like, couldn't miss. Shadow of the Gods, I felt like I had slightly less memorable characters than I remember in Faithful and the Fallen. Maybe it's a bias because I'm trying to remember how I felt at the end of book 1 of Faithful and the Fallen. Because Shadow of the Gods is a book 1. I was trying to do that comparison. But I do feel like the characters had a bit more distinct motives and things like that in Faithful and the Fallen that I didn't feel in Shadow of the Gods. Now, I've heard Hunger of the Gods is even better, so maybe I will grow to love it just as much as you all. But I'm curious to know in the comments if you felt similarly, or if you said, like, Nikhil, you're tripping. Like, of course it's the best book, since sliced bread, So let me know what you think. I don't care if we disagree and stuff. Like, in fact, I welcome opinions of all shapes and sizes because it's fun to discuss this stuff, right? And just have a dialogue rather than just go like, just state our opinions and walk away. So it's always fun to chat about this stuff, but I am very excited to tackle this with John and, kind of read a few hundred pages of this week, I think. So let's talk a little bit about what happened on the channel this week. So We are at 714 subscribers. So these things always ebb and flow. There was a couple bumps the last couple weeks where it was kind of really pushing forward, and then it slowed down. And that kind of thing happens. I tell you this because some of the people watching are also have their own channels, of various shapes and sizes. And so I always like to highlight, hey, sometimes things are great on the channel, sometimes they're not so great, and that's okay. It's kind of like you make your content. You try to make it better every time. You try to serve your audience and create something that hopefully is a positive community. And if people really like that, that's great. And you can always try to get better with each video and try to provide value in different ways. So just wanted to let you know that quick thing. And I also want to leave this to you, and I'm actually going to make this a community poll as well at some point. But I would love to know from you all if there are any suggestions you think could improve the channel, things that you feel would make you feel more engaged, because that's something I'm trying to figure out. Like, I work full-time in composing, and then I'm juggling all these things, and I always want to make sure that I'm giving enough time to this and to the Discord as well. And so to that point, like, let me know if you feel like, oh, I would love it if you had XYZ, or this would make me feel more engaged and want to comment more, or whatever it is. Let me know. And all opinions are welcome, and I really take them to heart. I've improved this channel based on suggestions from you all, so I always want to know how to better do that. So moving right along, on the Discord channel, which we have a brand new Discord channel, check it out below. We have about 25 people that are signed up right there. And I think, like, if I remember correctly, when I looked at the Malazan reading poll for the official 2025 channel read-along, which I'm linking up here, by the way, if you want to know more about that, we had like 50 people signed up for it, and that was before the last week or so. So I got to check all that stuff out. But if you want to sign up for that, definitely come down into the Discord and say hi, and introduce yourself and everything. And we would love to have you there. I've opened up some more channels for the official channel read along there. People have already started discussing their anticipation for Malazan and or Malazan, whatever you want to call it. Tomato, I always say. But they've been discussing their love for or anticipation for the series. They've been showing their books as they're buying them, and people are getting really hyped. And I think it's going to be really fun. We're doing this over 15 months, so it's not something that's crazy in terms of like an ambitious TBR schedule. I think you could slot it in your regular reading. So please join us. We'd love to have you. The more the merrier, I say, with this kind of stuff, because Malazan is a very intimidating series for a lot of people, and I think we can help each other out in a non-spoilery way. I think having a discussion like that will be really fun. I'll be popping in quite a bit as well. To that point, a bunch of you have also said, hey, I really wanted to read the Janny Wirtz Wars of Light and Shadow series, or the Matthew Corbett series, or the Ryan Cahill series, Bound and the Broken, the ones that were not chosen, but I decided I'm going to make them soft read-alongs anyway. So I opened up channels for them as well on the Discord. So going to start discussions on those and figure out a reading schedule, all based on what you all want. So this is all up to you. And I'm going to pose that also in a community poll and see, what kind of schedule would work out best for you all. So let me know in the comments, or, to that poll. So then the last thing I want to say is I did one video still, even though I was sick, and it was my October wrap-up. And the October wrap-up I'm linking up here. It was kind of all the books I read in October. And I read 6 books, so it was kind of a good reading month, I would say. I always thought when I made channel I'd have less time to read, but somehow it's kind of focused my reading time even more. Because, you become more attentive to the things you're reading because you want to talk about them. So it's been really nice. So I'm linking that above. So let's talk about this week's schedule. I'm going to do a book haul video a little bit earlier this time, because I've received so many great books. I've received some from authors. I've bought a few. I found library book sales, and I just have such a hoard to show you that I figured, I'll leave a special bonus holiday book sale, book haul video at the end of the year, I think. But I was gonna do these once a quarter, but I think I'm gonna do my Q4 one now, because I want to show you all these cool things. And also it starts to become harder to keep track of things, because I put them on my bookshelf, and then it becomes harder to remember exactly where which ones I got when. So gonna show you all those before I put them all away. And then so that's the first video I'm gonna do. On Friday I'm gonna do my Adaptation News Episode 3. Sorry that one got a little delayed. It was just because I wasn't feeling too well and busy week and all that. But this will be coming out on Friday. And last but definitely not least, actually, this is something I'm probably the most excited about as far as kind of channel updates and channel schedule for this week is... A lot of you probably know Philip Chase. I mentioned he's the author of the Adan trilogy, and he's also a wonderful human being and a wonderful booktuber. Linking him down below. I link him in a lot of videos as well. And, you know, I've watched his channel for maybe 3 years now, pretty much ever since he started. And I saw kind of his interactions with Mike from Mike's book reviews. And I just fell in love with the way he has such a philosophical approach to both the way he talks about fantasy and then, as I found out, the way he writes fantasy. So I just love his channel. So it is a great honor and a privilege to announce that I will be speaking on his Dear Dr. Fantasy segment, which is a nice little conversation between Booktube channels, I guess you could say, that he does periodically. And I'm going to be on the next episode, and I'm so excited to chat with him. You know, it's always interesting where kind of real life and kind of the social media and everything intersect. You know, it's like when you follow a booktuber for a while and then you actually get a chance to chat with them. It's kind of awesome. And so I'm like super jazzed about this. We're going to be speaking on Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm also going to do a community post and stuff, and kind of keep you all apprised as that all happens. So please feel free to join us there, jump in the chat, say hi, and, you know, would love to, kind of share that experience with you all. So that'll be a really fun kind of video that we're going to have on Sunday. And I couldn't be more excited. So Philip, thank you so much, man, for having me on your channel. And I'm really looking forward to chatting with you. And then let's go to the last segment, which is on the music front, which I always like to talk to you all about projects I'm working on and things, because some are, adaptation adjacent, some are not. But one thing was I did a film trailer, music for a film trailer called Almost Home. It's like someone who comes back from war and is facing PTSD and kind of his struggle to reconnect with his family and stuff. So did a piece of trailer music for that. I'll link that down below as well at some point. I think it's supposed to be out today. So when it is, I'll link that video down below as well, so you could check it out if you so choose. And then I also wrote the main theme for the movie The Conduit, which is a psychological horror film that it was a proof of concept short film for a feature that I produced, and I also composed music for. So I kind of wrote a main theme for that, and so far director's loving it, and so he already slotted it into the film. So it's nice to see this thing come to life, which is really fun. And then we are developing that into a feature. So I connected the director with a writer friend of mine, and they are going ahead to starting this week, write the feature script for it. So really fun things all around, and always keeping my eye around for any books that in the horror space that have a growing audience, that wouldn't be too expensive to produce. So if you have any recommendations on that, let me know. Always looking to adapt works as well for our production company. So with that, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. What did you think of this week? Let me know. Did you get a chance to read any of the books on my list? What were the books on your list? What were your favorites? What were your least favorites? Anything cool happened to you this week? Let's chat. I always love chatting. And if you'd feel more comfortable chatting on like a more casual chat on the Discord, please join the Discord. I think you'd really have a good time there. Everyone there is super lovely. And, I try to do everything I can to make it a positive space for everyone. So there's few people there that are brand new to reading, in their adulthood. There's a few people who are veteran readers that read books like every other day. So a nice gamut of people, so please join us, and please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell if you want to kind of get apprised of new videos as they come. Got a couple more coming for you this week. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other. I will see you on Wednesday with another video. Take care.